Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
Welcome to another episode of Talking Grit. I am Jason Harwood. With me is Jacob Litton. What's going on, man? What's new this week?
Not much, man. Watching the Michigan game, right?
Yep.
Michigan basketball, number one.
I know. Playing number 7 Purdue. State's a basketball haven right now. Pistons number 1 in the East. Michigan number 1 overall. Loving it. Loving it.
Right. Just a great time for Michigan sports.
It is. And you know what happens on Saturday, right? I think it's the first spring training game with the Tigers, so it's coming. We have not talked about this yet, but Verlander is back in a Detroit Tigers uniform. How awesome is that?
Right. The return of JV. That's awesome.
Oh,
Overdue.
it
Especially, with Reese being out for the year now. It's like, okay, let's run it back, man.
I know. Having Skubal and Verlander on the same pitching staff is going to be sweet. So, all right, let's move on to some Lions talk. All right. We are going to talk the Lions cap situation. And in fact, I think that the NFC North cap situation and as a whole is obviously a relevant topic for a Lions fan, but also just looking at where the other teams in our division are, it's going to force some tough roster decisions this offseason. Actually, coming up soon, we'll probably see some cap casualties come up for other teams in our division. So we're going to look at that too, just to kind of see what to expect there. We'll start first with the Lions. We're 9.1 million over the cap right now. So we're not on the positive side. That means by March, I guess I didn't look what the exact date of free agency
I think
is.
it's March 11th or March 12th.
Is it March 11th? Okay. So
One of
by
those
that
days.
time, we have to be under the cap. So we'll talk about ways to get there. I'm not overly worried about that. There's many ways that we can get under the cap. So we're in pretty good shape there. Jacob, why don't we start talking about the Vikings first? Because they are definitely in the worst cap situation. And then after we talk about the people in our division, we'll talk about the Lions and go in depth. We'll go into depth more with the Lions than these other ones, but I think these are all relevant. So why don't you start with the Vikings?
Yeah. The Lions 9 million over the cap. The Vikings 40 million over the cap. All of the NFC North is over the cap right now as well. So I know the Lions, I think we're like bottom 9 or something like that, but almost all of us are, towards the bottom of this. So everybody in the NFC North has cap situations that we need to figure out. Starting with the Vikings, 40.6 million over the cap, 5.6 million is in dead money. So, you think not so bad in dead money, but there's not a quick fix for the Vikings. Right? The biggest cap hits, I assume, Jason, you made this list, but I assume these are the biggest cap hits on there, right?
Well, these are the biggest. They weren't the biggest cap hits, but they're the ones that they could.
They're the names that you think, okay.
Yeah.
Right,
so
right.
like they have bigger cap hits, but some of them have more dead money than what it would take to cut them. So obviously they're not cut candidates. So the ones that I listed are probably their top 4 ways of players that they could cut to save money. At least in my opinion. There's other ways to save money, and I didn't get into every single one, but these were the major ones.
Okay, so starting off with Brian O'Neill, cap hit of 23.2 million. Refresh my memory. So when you say the dead cap right now for him is 3.7,
that means
so that is as it stands without cutting him. That's not how much would create.
So if they cut him, that's what it would cost. They would have 3.7 million. So they would basically wipe off like 19.5 million off their cap by doing that. So you take the difference between their cap hit and their dead cap, and that's how much money they'd save off the cap. So they'd save 19.5 million by cutting him. They'd incur dead cap money, but they would take 23.2 million off their, off the cap, but then 3.7 of them would be dead. So it'd be 19.5 cap savings.
And I imagine that all of these are, as it stands right now, not counting like the post June 1st cuts and stuff, right?
Right. So like for example, the Brian O'Neill one, if they designated him a post June 1st cut, that 3.7 dead million could be split over 2 seasons. So you could, do 1.85 million over the course, which that's a pretty low number, but like for the
I
next
think
run,
there's
for
a
example,
minimum that it has to be in order to spread them out.
is it okay? I guess I don't know that,
I
but
don't know what that minimum would be, but right. I mean, what would be the purpose of spreading out the 3.7 million?
right,
I think that number would probably be about the same savings, but
yeah,
anyway, Brian O'Neill first one on your list. Decently large cap hit. Javon Hargrave, 21.4 million cap hit. He's got a 10.5 million dead cap number. So that's only freeing up about like 10, 11 million roughly. TJ Hawkinson is going to be an interesting one as well. So Hawkinson cap hit 21.3 million. 12.4 million would be the dead cap. So that's again, around 10, less than 10. Aaron Jones, 14.8 million cap hit. 6.8 million dead cap. When you made this list and when you had these guys on there, if I imagine you're envisioning, like, if you're in charge of the Vikings right now, who's the obvious one, or do you think, I mean, is there an easy answer for who they're going to cut? Because they are running out of time. Obviously, they have restructures. We're going to talk about Justin Jefferson here in a minute, but of those players, I'm not sure any of them are, not necessarily eligible, but I can't envision them wanting to restructure any of these guys. And I
yeah.
don't
I
know
don't know
that
if they're
that's
going to
not going to solve the
restructure,
problem.
but I mean, we started out by saying they're 40.6 million over, so they have a lot of roster movements to do. And when you talk about Brian O'Neill, you're saving almost 20 million. That's half. That'd be half the cap money right there. If you cut Brian O'Neill, you'd save like half your cap hit right there. You're letting go in an offensive lineman, a good one at that. So that's a risky situation. TJ Hawkinson, now you could let him go, save 9 million in cap. Now, if you split the 12.4 over 2 years, that then your cap hits like 6 million this year, 6 million next year. But the 40.6, they have to get under that cap hit before March 3rd or March 13th or whatever date we
Yeah.
decided. So if you designate them post June 1st, then that cap savings doesn't happen right away, as far as I know, because technically you're not cutting them till June 1st. So that's they'll have to figure that out.
I actually don't know exactly how that would work either. Does that just tie up that money? Like, you can't use that for free agents, but it doesn't count against the cap until June 1st? Or, I mean, what kind of a get
Mhm.
out of jail free card are they looking at there?
Yeah, I it so you have to be under the cap by and so like if you're designating someone to post June 1st cut, I don't think they're actually cut till June 1st. I don't I think
So
that's how
then
that
you,
works.
right. So they would count against your cap still,
It
right?
would count
So
against your
that's why,
cap, yeah.
for the purpose of what we're talking about with these players, like these,
Yeah,
it's not an option to spread out this dead cap and do the post June 1st thing.
that's
Now,
correct.
you could trade them, right? I don't know how much the dead cap goes on. I guess that would depend on the
The dead
trade
cap goes on
language.
right. You incur that rate as the trade hits, but I don't think you could do a trade until after the league year starts. So I don't know if you can like if you're going to trade them. I don't think that they still have to get under the 40.6 before the league year hits, or there's a
Right.
penalty. So I don't think trading's really an option for these guys. So
No.
uh, the other option that they could do, and I guarantee that they're going to do, is they're going to restructure Justin Jefferson. So his cap hit this year is 38.9 million. Um, he has a base salary of 24.9, which they could basically convert that. They could convert that into a signing bonus or some sort of bonus, and then they could spread that over the remaining years of the contract. They're still going to pay for him. It's just going to raise his contract in the following years. So like for instance, next year his cap hit's already 43.4 million. So if they spread that out, it's going to go up. Like he's going to be you're talking 50 million cap hit next year, which obviously isn't going to work. So they're going to have to do another restructure. Another thing that they only have one void year on Justin Jefferson's. I think you're allowed up to 5. So you could spread that cap hit like over five additional or 4 additional years essentially after the contract hits and to make that cap hit even smaller. But I guarantee they're going to do something with Justin Jefferson's contract because I mean 40 million, and then like I said, they need to space out 40.6. The thing that's super worrisome about the Vikings is that they're still on a rookie contract with JJ McCarthy with dealing with all these cap casualties. Like, people are talking about Kirk Cousins is going to be cut, right? The Falcons are thinking about getting rid of him. You're going to have to pay Kirk Cousins if you want him to go back. If you wanted to go back to Minnesota, uh, that means you're going to have to cut even more money. So they are not in good shape there in Minnesota.
No, I mean they're going to have to just blow up the roster. That's the only way that's going to make any sense. I mean they're going to have to try to get stockpile draft picks and just count on young players, and it's not a position you want to be in. You already talked about. I don't know. Was that before we went live where you said that's why their GM is gone?
Yeah, no, I think that was before it went live. Yeah, but
right.
I mean, you look at this. Their
Stuff
GM,
like this is why he no longer has a job right now.
Well, I mean, last year, remember they had like 4 or 5 draft picks. So like they spent all that money in free agency, traded stuff away, and now they're paying the penalty for it. And you'd be like, one thing if you had a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract and you were happy with his play, but they're not happy with JJ McCarthy's play, so they're in a rough spot. So let's move over to the Bears. Unfortunately, the winners of the NFC North. The Bears are 10.7 million over the cap. They only have a half million in dead cap money. But again, they're on a quarterback. They're on their team with a rookie quarterback contract. And so they're going to have, they'll have to make some moves. But eventually, in the future here, they're going to pay Caleb Williams his money. And, they're going to they have to face a roster crunch. So I'm liking to see what position they're already in. Uh, and Ryan Poles has, got that extension. So he's going to have to come up with some magic here. A player that I think they're going to cut or they're going to have to do something is Montez Sweat. $25 million cap hit, 18.1 million dead caps. That's 17 million. I think that they might do something with him. The other choice that they could do something with is Tremaine Edmonds, and they could save a ton of cap space by cutting him. $17.4 million cap hit. They only incur 2.4 dead million in dead cap space, so they could gain like $15 million just by cutting Tremaine Edmonds. He's had some health issues lately, so he's definitely a cut candidate. Who are the other two players that I got on my list here, there, Jacob?
Other two that we have on the list: Cole Kmet, 11.6 million cap hit and only 3.2 million in dead cap. He's also a very hot trade candidate that people are talking about right now. So I mean, there's a possibility that they try to hold on to him to use to try to get some more draft capital out of him. But then, well known with Lions fans, DeAndre Swift. So he's got an 8.8 million cap hit, 1.3 million in dead cap, which is a really small number. And also, you got to think, they got the other running back, Manon guy, who actually played pretty well last year, and maybe have just made DeAndre Swift more expendable. The Bears overall are not in like any sort of a nightmare situation. They also have they've got to out with DJ Moore. Like if they wanted to move on from DJ Moore, this wouldn't be before getting under the cap, but they could trade DJ Moore and clear most of his salary out, because that's another person around NFL circles that is like a possible trade candidate is DJ Moore. But yeah,
his
I think
cap
the obvious
situation's weird. Have you looked at his though? Have you looked at?
I know that he had like, if they were to try to like outright cut him, he would cost them a fortune, right?
Yes. Yeah. So like his cap hit this year is 28.5 mil. If they cut him, his dead cap is 35.4 mil. So I mean, it would cost them more to cut him. Trading him would be an option, but you still take a 35 million dead cap hit number. If you wait a year,
if you trade him after, I was just gonna say, if you trade him after June 1st, that's when you
Yes.
get that savings right away.
yes,
That's why I said
100%.
it wouldn't be anything that you'd be clearing up like before
Mhm.
the league starts. This would be over the summer, like before training camp.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you're going to see something with him. I don't think you'll see anything this year. Maybe post June 1st, but definitely
Right.
next year I could see DJ Moore being cut. It'd be an $8 million dead cap money, but you'd be taking 28.5 off the books, and with all the draft capital they've spent on young wide receivers, uh they might be looking to do that now. That's if Odunze can stay healthy and be on the field. But um, yeah, DJ Moore is good wide receiver, but yes, you're spending a lot for him. That's for sure. Uh, so I didn't really look at see if there's any restructuring because I don't think that there's a lot that they could do to restructure. I think it's mostly going to be cap hits with them, and like you said, they're not in terrible shape, but they're going to have to do some moves to do this. Now they could also extend Montez Sweat instead of cutting him and spread out some cap money, and there's ways to do that. So I would expect them to do that. However, um, they're spending a lot like on their offensive line. Like Jonah Jackson's costing them 19.5 million. Joe Tooney's costing them 21.5. Their offensive line is costly. So there might be some moves there, but the ones that I put are the ones that would save them the most. So the Sweat, Edmonds, Komet, Swift. Cole Komet is, because of Colson Loveland, you could see them moving on for Komet and saving, 8 million in cap space if they can't trade him. But uh, anything you want to talk about the Bears before we move on to the Packers and then the Lions?
Nope.
All right.
Move on.
Packers are 4.3 million over in the cap. So as far as like cap space, they're in the best space in this division, but they're still 4.3 million over. However, they have $17.1 million in dead cap space this year. Uh, they're paying Jordan Love a ton of money. Malik Willis is a free agent, so he's going to be gone because I just don't see how they're going to. Malik Willis is going to command some major bucks on the free agent market because I think that he might be
Right.
vying for a starting job. So he's not going to come back to the Packers uh, and play for the contract that he played for last year. So two cuts that I saw that they could possibly make would be Rashawn Gary, but I don't even know. It's a 28 million cap hit. He has 17 million in dead cap space. I don't think they're going to cut him for an 11 million savings, even though they get 11 million. I just don't see that happening, especially with Micah Parsons being injured. We don't know how he's going to do. I just don't see him doing there. Maybe a restructure is in line to save some money. The other player that's interesting is Josh Jacobs, just because how injured he was last year. Now, I don't know if they'd be wanting to move on from him just because he's kind of the focal point of that offense. Um, Even though everyone wants to say Jordan Love, but how Josh Jacobs goes is how
Yeah.
the Packers go. He has occurred of only a $14.5 million cap hit, which is not terribly high, but his that cap is 6.3, so they could save 8 million by cutting him. They'd have to make another move at the running back position. I don't know if they're going to do that, but those are the two players that I noticed that they could cut and save the most, but I don't know if either one of those really makes sense. I think that they might do some restructuring here. Um, Jacob, and you want to read what we got next for the restructuring possibilities?
Yes, that's actually somebody that I was thinking about as a possible cut candidate. But so you have extending Elton Jenkins. So right now his cap hit
Hmm.
is at, I had it up right here on my other. So he's at 24.3 million is cap hit, but
Yep.
4.8 million is dead cap. I
Yep.
mean, if you're wanting to save money right away, that's a quick fix and a quick way to get some money off of the books.
Yep.
Now, he's also 30 years old. He's on the final year of his deal. So I mean,
Yep.
if he is in your long term plans and you want to kick this down the road a little bit, then that's an easy restructure, right? Or an easy, like, you're gonna give an extension onto this
Yep.
deal. You're gonna spread out that cap hit. Um, you know, with them only being 4.3 million over the cap, I think there's other cuts that can be made, different things they can do without blowing up the core of their team. So I guess it's
Yep.
how much they really like Jenkins. Also the obvious Jordan Love restructuring that contract. Good, right? Just keep that on the books. Whatever dead money they want to keep doing, keep this going. How many void years did you say? He's got 3 void years on
He's
right
already
now.
got
So I
three, so
mean,
they can't really do too much there. And his base is only 10.4 million. So you can't really save a lot of money on Jordan Love's contract, which is, you know, his cap hit is nowhere
they
near what Jared Goff is right now. But
right.
the Jared Goff deal is structured in a way that you can free up a lot of money.
Uh they are going to have that same situation like Mahomes, where you're going to get the max amount of void years, and then you're going to be paying, $50 million. He's going to count for that cap hit when the contract is over.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to clear up that space, they might be ready just to let it ride how it is. There's some smaller players they can cut to get 4.3 million over,
Yep.
under the cap. There's also the chance that they trade somebody like Rashawn Gary after, June 1st, if they're wanting to make a sizable chunk. Like you said, I mean, he's valuable now that Micah's hurt for sure, but he didn't play that well last year when Micah went down. And I think
Right.
he's towards the end of his contract too, right? Or he's like maybe he's got 2 years left. He's somebody that would be valuable in the trade market, I think, if they're looking to create some space right now.
Yeah. They're not in terrible shape, but it's just they don't have a lot of room to maneuver, and uh we'll see. So I expect the North to be fairly quiet in the free agent market. The Bears could free up considerable amount of money. The Lions could free up a ton of money, and we'll get to them next. But I just don't see the Vikings. The Vikings are going to be barely scratching by to get underneath the cap. The Packers are in an interesting situation because of the Micah Parsons injury. Like I really, they really hurt themselves by signing him and then tearing. Obviously, they don't know he's going to tear his ACL, but that puts them in a rough spot because you got to keep Rashawn Gary. That if until you know how Micah's going to do. Um, if you want to have any sort of pass rush at all. And they lost their defensive coordinator. And, Gannon comes in.
Right.
Gannon, obviously, Super Bowl winning uh, defensive coordinator. So, I mean, he's got that on his resume, but he's got to come in and show it here in Green Bay. All right,
Do
let's
you know
move
what
over.
Micah's dead cap is?
Oh, Micah's dead cap's like 120 million or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's
Yeah, so
yeah,
his cap hit is 19.2, but his dead cap's
yeah.
113.1 million.
Yeah, it's they gave him all that, and they gave him all that roster bonus, which I mean they're not going to cut it. I'm sure there's a way. I didn't look too much at Micah's to see if there's a restructure option. I'm sure they could turn his base. You could always turn your base in
He's
there.
already got 3 void years attached to his contract, so I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know what they could really. His cap hit does not get to be too bad until
What's his base
2029.
salary this year?
His base salary
Yeah.
2.3.
Oh, for 20. Oh, so
His cap hit is 19.2 million, but his
so
base
his base
salary is
salary is only
2.3.
2.3. So yeah, because normally what you could do is you convert the base into a bonus, and you pay the you got to pay them the league minimum as your base, and then you could
If
convert
you
everything
want,
else.
you could pay him
Yeah,
more than the league minimum, but I mean that's
right.
how far you could drop his
Yeah,
league
that's
minimum.
you
But
can't
then
pay them zero. You can't pay them
right,
zero and turn everything into a bonus. I think you have to pay them the league minimum. So
and
yeah,
then you spread that out over these void years, right?
or every the current remaining years of the contract plus the void years. So you can't spread it out, but it's the 2 point. I mean, they're not going to do it for 2 point whatever million. That's unless
Salary's insane.
yeah. All right, so let's talk. Let's just so everyone's on the same page. Let's talk about the top 10 cap hits on the Lions roster right now. There's going to be between now and the start of free agents. This list is going to change because they're going to obviously have to restructure. Because Jared Goff starts off with a huge $69.6 million cap hit. We're not going to be going into the season with Jared Goff counting that much on the cap. The good news is that he only has one void year on his contract. They'll be able to spread that out. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But right now, I just want to quickly go through the top 10. Amon Ra is counting 33.1 million on our cap. Aleem McNeil's next with 28.9. Panay Sewell is counting 28 million on the cap this year. Taylor Decker, which is an interesting one, right? Maybe going to retire, maybe not. 21 million on the cap this year. DJ Reed, 17.8. Aiden Hutchinson, 10.1 before his extension kicks in next year, and that cap hit will go way up. Derek Barnes is actually number 8 with 9.7 million. Graham Glasgow is 8.4, so he's in top 10, Jacob. And Dave Montgomery is at number 10 with 8.3 million. So, JMO's outside the top 10. Sam Laporta's outside the top 10. Branch and Gibbs are all outside the top 10. So, my question to you, Jacob, is who are your possible cap casualties that you could see for the Lions this year?
There's only two names on that list that I think are possible casualties, and they're both on the offensive line.
Okay.
And that would be Taylor Decker and Graham Glasgow. Now, Graham, you'd save I think 5.5 million by cutting him right now. So that's, over half the amount that we need, plus
Mm-hmm.
the restructure for Jared Goff, would get us
Yeah.
under the cap. We also hope to be kind of active in free agency. You're trying to do something in free agency to clear up a little bit more space. I would almost say that it's really likely that Graham gets cut, just because of the way that these numbers roll out. At the same time, when you look at Taylor Decker, he was hurt all year, right? It affected his performance, but he is 33. He also, he was pretty emotional when the season ended. Like, kind of like it felt like maybe that was it for him, or just the realization that maybe that was it, could have been it. You know, Frank leaving last year left us in a bad spot, but if Decker's going to retire and decides to retire early on, would free up cap space for us, right? And it would that would solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
He'd create 11.6 million in savings if we do that right now.
Right. Yep.
And that's also
So.
something that if we restructure Goff, and we could restructure and get underneath the salary cap, and then the Decker stuff could happen later. Because then you
Mm-hmm.
create more space with Decker if it's a post June 1st cut, or, if this happens later. But you also, Taylor Decker is due a 1.5 million roster bonus that is on March 15th. So if he's
Right.
on the roster March 15th, that's 1.5 million tied up right there. So
Mm-hmm.
that's, not a large amount, but not a small amount. And when we're kind of playing, trying to fit the piece of the puzzle together, I mean, if you're Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, do you nudge him one way or the other? Do you say, hey, I mean, it's a tough spot to be in.
Well, you'd want to know before you pay him that bonus whether he's going to come back or not. I mean, that's got to be. I mean, you wouldn't want to pay the
Ideally, right. But I
1.5.
mean, if
Yeah.
he's dancing around like Frank did, and which he could 100% actually be like, man, I'm on the fence. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think Taylor's going to do that. I think with I don't think Frank had that roster bonus thing where that was going to affect the team. I'm, yeah, I'm not sure. My hope is that Taylor comes back this year. I don't, I want, we don't have the answer at tackle, but if he's not coming back, I'd rather know now. Like we need to know now so that we could maybe do something either in free agency, and we'll know what we got to do with this money. So, if he retires this year, we're get his dead cap would be 9.4. If we designated after June 1st, we could spread that over 2 years. So, it'd be what 4.7 this year and 4.7 next year, or you could take it all this year. If he plays this year, I would expect the Lions to probably cut or restructure him if he decides to play 2027, because next year's cap is 24.1 million, and he has a $6.2 million dead cap. So he'd save 18 million off the cap next year. And but we need to plan now whether we're going to have Taylor back next year or this, if he plays this year, we're going to need to plan ahead and have a contingency in place, because I don't think Manu is the answer. I don't think you want to go into the offseason saying that. Now, if that works out and he improves, great. It gives us another tackle, but I don't trust Manu enough to say that's
No.
going to be the answer. I
I
think
think that experiment is about over. I think that we need to be looking for a tackle in round one if this Taylor stuff doesn't pan out, or if that's how he's
Mhm.
feeling.
I don't care. Even if Taylor comes back, you still tackles
Early
on
on,
that. Yeah.
tackles towards the top of the list early on for sure. But maybe,
Yeah.
if the right guy's not here, you don't have to pull the
You know,
trigger.
right. The other option instead of cutting Graham is they've done this a couple times in the past is, you know, say, Graham, we're going to cut you, or we could re-sign you for a lower amount. And that could happen. I mean, you're not going to get rid of the dead cap money, but we could maybe re-sign him to a contract, at a lower amount. And the Lions have done that in the past. So that is an option. Everyone talks about David Montgomery and what that's going to happen. I think that we're just going to go into the season with David Montgomery. I don't think that the Lions really want to move on from him. The only thing that could push that is if David Montgomery's like, I can go somewhere else and get touches, and I want to do that now. Um, I could see them maybe appeasing Dave Montgomery, but that would be in a trade. I don't think we'd just cut him. We're going to get something for him. But his cap hit, like I said, is 8.3 million, 4.8 dead cap space. So you're saving like 3.5 million. He has an 8.3 million cap hit for next year too. And then his cap hit in 2028 is 10.2 million. So it goes up, but I just don't see them moving on from David Montgomery this year. And with bringing Petzing in and everything, I I want him on our team. So I don't think that that's the answer to our solution. Those are the only cuts that I saw are those maybe and the only thing I'd add in there is Kirby Joseph, right? Because we don't know what's like his injury. Like if it doesn't allow him to play, what would happen? Um, what would happen this year? Cutting him is not going to save us money. If we cut Kirby Joseph this year, we incur a $20.7 million dead cap money. It's only costing us 5.4 million this year, so it would cost us 15 million. So the only way that you know it won't help the team if he retires or can't play. The only thing that could save us is if we had an insurance claim on it. And I don't, based on how the lines are doing this, I doubt that we had an insurance claim on Kirby. Lines don't typically do insurance claims, especially for a contract probably his size. Maybe for Jared Goff they did. So if you have a salary, in case you don't know, if you have a salary cap and then you have an insurance claim on that and you get money back from the insurance, that money gets added back into the cap. So you can incur some cap savings, but I don't know that for sure that's the case with Kirby, but I doubt that we have an insurance on that. However, if we cut Kirby next year, we have a $7.2 million in dead cap space. So next year is an option if he plays and he can't. We get a similar production out of Kirby this year. Next year he might be on the cut. Might be something we have to cut if the injury doesn't allow him to play.
Kirby also has one of those contracts where it's like the following year has like a certain amount that's guaranteed the year before. So like his roster or his salary for 2027, however, I forget the dollar amount, but it becomes fully guaranteed on like day 5 of the 2026 season. And then it might be that same way early on. And Kirby also has, I think, 4 void years on his contract as well.
Yeah.
So
they've
I mean,
voided his
and Kirby earned that contract. Everything about this contract is okay if Kirby's healthy, right? That's what really sucks is the injury that he's going through and where it leaves us.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's certainly not ideal. All right, so this is how the lines are going to save their cap space. I mean, I guarantee you're going to see some restructures coming up. The first one's the Jared Goff restructure, is what we talked about. Huge cap hit. However, his let me see, I got the numbers over here. His base salary this season is 55 million. So you could convert 55 million on whatever 50 whatever his league minimum is. I'm not sure what it is, but 50 million you could convert to a signing bonus. That'd be spread over this year, next year, and then 2028, and then he has one void year 2029 on his contract. Now you could add void years too and spread that out even further. So I mean, essentially, if we spread it out over 4 years, 50 million, so that's like what, 12.5 million. We could save up 12.5 million just by easily converting that over there, and that gets us under the cap just by restructuring Golf. Now if we add void years, we could save even more than 12.5 million. So but then that increases the bad part about that is increases Golf's cap hit the following years. But the way it's structured, I think that's something that you could just, you'd restructure the following year and add some void years off. But I guarantee that's going to be restructured. Amon Ra is another one that could be restructured. And he only has one void year on his contract. His base salary this year is 27.5 million. Again, you could convert that into a bonus, spread that over the life of the deal. You could save considerable amount of money there too. I got 2 more players on here, Jacob, with restructures. Who else could we restructure?
I don't see them where you have on here.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. They're just on my side. So I'll go ahead and do that. Aleem McNeil is another player that we could restructure. 33 or he has 23.8 million in caps and base salaries. He could spread that out. He only has one void year on his deal. So Amon Ra has one void year, Jared Goff has one void year, and Aleem only has one. So there is plenty of room to restructure there too. And the other player that you could restructure is Panay Sewell. His base salary this year is 23.9. He has no void years on his deal. So you could convert that and spread that out over some time too. So I ideally you don't want to be just kicking all these contracts, kicking it down the road. However, the way the cap's going up, you have a little bit of space. And the way you've structured these contracts, you don't have that many void years, so you have some room to go. So I would expect any one of those contracts being restructured, the Jared Goff being the number one, but I would not be surprised if you saw Amon Ra, Aleem, or Panay being restructured.
I 100% the Jared Goff one just makes sense. I mean, the cap hit right now is 69.6 million. As it stands, next year would be 54.6. The following is 61.6. So this
Mhm.
is the big year for his cap hit. So I mean, if you're making the next 2 years larger, you're adding void years, but you're decreasing the cap hit this year. Um, that's kind of a no-brainer to get underneath the salary and work around. Panay Sewell also, doesn't have any void years. Somebody that we know is going to be here long term. He's still
Mhm.
young. He still has another big contract coming up at some point. Amon Ra, I would agree with that also. Not going to be the last contract that he gets. His cap hits are a little bit larger, and he has one void year. The interesting thing for me though is Aleem. I don't think I would want to restructure or add any more onto Aleem.
Okay.
Uh, I think that we need to see more this year. I agree that he earned the contract that he got, right? And Aleem can be a great player, but we did not see a whole lot out of him last year. And as it is right now, we do have a potential out with him next year. His
Mhm.
dead cap space is pretty big right now, but I mean, that drops off next year. So there's a chance that we could cut him next year and kind of get out of this contract, and that's not going to be an option if we use that to restructure. So as
Correct.
far as like him being in the future plans, 5 years down the road, I think Aleem's kind of the one, outside of the box, or however you want to say it, that, out of Goff, Amon Ra, Panay, those are all pillars of the team. You would like for Aleem to be that guy, and we'll see if he is this year, but I don't think right now restructuring Aleem would be an answer, in my opinion.
I agree. I like your reasoning there because I think you're spot on, Jacob. Like the other guys are pillars of your team, uh, and they're going to be here for the long haul. We're not moving on from Golf. We're not moving on from Amon Ra. We're not moving on from Panay. So, restructuring their deal just to free up cap space. Even if you're tied to them longer, that's not the end all be all. Aleem coming up a big injury, didn't show as much last year. Now coming 2 years off that injury, I expect him to have a good year, especially if we got him playing in position in the interior of
Right.
the line, playing next to Tyleek. Tyleek going into a second year. Maybe we got Tyleek in a situation where playing the DJ Reader role, just taking up two blockers. Whatever. We'll see. Maybe we'll see Aleem get a little more pressure and then show that he's worth that contract. But yeah, I think maybe this year's a little too early to doing the restructure. Now, if you need to free up a little bit of money to sign an offensive lineman, I could see like turning some of the base salary and spreading it over some time, and then if that's going to make your team better as a whole. But I'm going to look at those other three players, Golf, Amon Ram, Panay, before I go to the Aleem contract.
Right. And obviously, we
Um,
hope that Aleem is that guy. We hope that he goes
mhm,
back to form and has a great season, because we know that he's got it in him. Absolutely.
Yep. We'll probably in a future episode we'll talk about each of the you know where our holes are going to be because we're going to need to we have, I talked about we're, not whatever, 9 million over in or cap space, but we have some holes on this team. We're going to be short in linebackers, short in the secondaries, and we got to sign those players. So we're, not only are we worried about some free agent, maybe offensive linemen to get in here, we're going to have to re-sign some of our guys like Rock and Amik and those type players are going to, take some money too. So that's it's not just a matter of getting underneath the cap. Now that's the first step is to get it underneath the cap, but the second step is to free up money to sign your own players and sign any new players that you need to add to this team. So, Jacob and I just kind of wanted to go through. We just thought it was, going into free agency. I think that this is information that everyone needs to know. And then also when you see that these contracts are restructuring, so now you know why you're going to hear the news that you're going to hear in the next couple weeks because it's coming up soon. It's less than a month away. Free agency is less than a month away.
Right.
It's crazy. All right, Jacob and I want to talk about this because I want to know his feelings on it. So Bradley Chubb and Tyreek are some big names that have been cut already. You're going to hear more in the coming weeks. So, we'll tie those to Lions. But the thing that I've seen is Tyreek on Twitter in Lions jerseys, like photoshopped into Lions jerseys. So what is the fascination with that? Are you interested in all in that adding him to our team?
Here's the thing. Would Tyreek make the team better? Yes, he would. Would Tyreek cost a lot of money? Yes, he would. Would Tyreek fit along with the grit and the way that we play football? No, he wouldn't. I don't think that at all. So yes, it's cool to see the photoshops and to see, to think what might be if we had prime Tyreek Hill. You know, he was due a roster bonus, so I think that played a part in why he was just outright cut. And maybe the team doctors are looking at him and they're like, "Hey, the odds of him ever being that fast and being that explosive are not very high." And he's talked about retiring the last couple years. Like he doesn't seem like his heart's fully in it either. So, let's not throw the bag at somebody coming off an injury like that. Somebody will be the team to do that. I also think another aspect of that is that um, Tyreek had said somewhere there was an interview or something out there where he said like that he would like to play with Jared Goff or he would like to play
Hmm.
in Detroit or something like that. So there were some seeds planted by something that he said, whoever knows how long ago. And you know how Lions fans are. Like every big free agent name, all of a sudden here they are. Do you want them in Detroit? How do we get them in Detroit? What do we do? Uh, him and the edge Bradley Chubb that was released by the Dolphins. They're both the talk of the town right now.
Hmm. Yeah.
What are your
Well, I
thoughts
mean,
though?
I don't know. I'd have to look more into Bradley Chubb. I mean, obviously I'm interested in an edge, but cost would be a thing, and I don't really know too much about him as a player. But your son would. I mean, he follows him. I don't know what type of player he is like as far as like he fits in the grit mentality. The Tyreek stuff is insane to me. There's no way I I wouldn't want the circus that would be for
Right.
him being in here. Now, if you're talking about the player itself, like the talent, what he could bring to a team. Yeah, I mean that's super exciting to think about. And I had talked about, I think in the last podcast, or when we were talking about Khalif, right? Would it be nice to bring in a player of his talent and put him on the kickoff return or the punt return? Yeah, that would be cool. He'd be an awesome uh, player to replace Khalif, but he's not going to come for that money. And, he's coming off that injury. You don't know the type of player you're going to get. And for what you're going to pay him, you're probably not going to want him on special teams. So he doesn't fit in that sense. Um, no, I mean, I don't know how you guard Tyreek and JMO. I mean, that just seems like a scary combination. But am I going to take away targets from Amon-Ra St. Brown for Tyreek? No, I don't want to do that. Uh, and Tyreek's just not going to come with the budget that's going to fit to our team. And like you said, the grit and all that. There's just a circus with everything about him. I just don't see any fit, and I don't really understand the why people really want him on this team, other than he's a big name. And you had him on fantasy one year, and he did a ton, and you know what he can do. But he hasn't been that player in a couple of years, and he's coming off a huge injury.
Well, he got hurt last year.
Yeah.
He struggled a little bit the year before, but I
Mhm.
mean, for like 3 or 4 years before that, he was like number one Pro
Oh yeah.
Football Focus ranked receiver, top of all the stats, NFL top 100, number one overall player. That's what everybody's wanting. That's what they just want to throw that guy in a Lions jersey and forget about the last couple years and how much money it's going to cost. But if you're being real about it, there's no situation where Tyreek Hill ends up here.
No, I yeah, I not someone that's going to bet the house on anything, but I'd almost bet the house that he is not in a Honolulu blue jersey uh coming in this fall. But if you want him on this team, I guess I'd have to hear your argument, but I just couldn't, I just can't picture it at all. Um, I'm sure there's gonna be, as other cuts happen, we'll talk about adding them to the team. I'm looking more at offensive line cuts, for salary reasons, like you're gonna have a Buffalo. Uh, I'm waiting to see if they cut their center because that might be a good addition to our team. So we'll be on the forefront of all that talk, but. Um, Anything else? I'm gonna look into Bradley Chubb. Are you interested in Chubb, or I mean, not at all?
I, you know, no, really, honestly,
Yeah.
like I don't think he's kind of falling off. He seems to be like, I don't know what the word is, lackluster, or just maybe like the effort kind of fell off or something like that. He just didn't have a very good year, and the contract thing with him too. Like I just can't get over like, if you're going to put forth that kind of effort and you're also going to, count 25 or 30 million against the cap, that was probably an easy decision for the Dolphins to be like, we got to move on.
Yeah.
I think they saved like 8 or 9 million by getting rid of him, but I mean, they just, they're rebuilding too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
who knows what
How
they're going
old
to be
is
doing with
Brett? How
Tua.
old is Chubb?
I think he's like 30 or 31.
Okay, because I was like, if he's a little younger, he might be worth, on a prove it deal or whatever. You get him across from Aiden, he could be looking like, oh, I can get double digit sacks, and then I come into,
And that would be okay. I mean, if he's willing to
yeah,
try to do something like that, but I mean, you'd have to come at a pretty big discount. And I have a
yep,
feeling that, especially, he's an edge, he's on the market. Somebody's going
mm,
to overpay this guy.
yep, yeah, and they always do with that. But you're hoping at some point you're gonna get one of these guys that that you could get on a prove it deal, and then they look at the lines as a chance to go further. Super Bowl credible team. We'll see how that goes. I know we were fourth place last year, so it's kind of like, oh, are we really in the Super Bowl window? I do believe that we are. So, uh, well, we'll talk about that a little later on. The last thing that we're going to talk about is, and this will be a short segment, I'm sure. Um, and I really wanted to talk about this because of how the NBA All Star this week game this weekend. People really liked it. It was an interesting concept. They did like kind of like a tournament type thing. They split it into 3 different teams, um, and so it got me thinking. Comparing to the NFL, the Pro Bowl is like, I mean, the Pro Bowl is bad. I mean, there's no other way around it. I don't like how they put the team together. I don't like any of the games that they do. Even when they were, a few years ago when they were playing against each other, that was boring because there was absolutely no defense. It wasn't football at all. I know they've done the flag football thing, but I've watched that and I don't really find that too much fun. So, my first question to you, Jacob, is a simple one. Should the Pro Bowl even be a thing anymore? Should we even, and we have the All Pro, should we even have the Pro Bowl anymore?
I don't see the purpose of having the Pro Bowl anymore. It's fallen completely all the way off. And, it's no longer, the players don't want to be there. It's not anything that they really are fighting for anymore. They're not, necessarily happy to be there. They don't get a very big bonus like for even going. I don't know what the dollar amount is right now, but I think it's like, 50,000 or something like that. It's not, to them it's not a lot of money. And I don't know, like you just brought up, NBA All-Star Weekend is the best one for me, and there's no way to do anything like that with the Pro Bowl. I mean, there's just not. I mean, they can make these different events. Like the dodgeball thing is kind of cool. Um, I still saw like, they can do the quarterback, the accuracy contest and the
Yeah, they didn't even do
deepest
that this
pass
year.
and like
They didn't do any
right.
of the skills competitions this year.
It, but the thing is, even when they do those, it's not like highly televised. Like I find those things on like Twitter as they're
Mm,
happening. Like I didn't even realize it was happening right now. Like
yeah.
it's almost just so much of an afterthought. If they were to do like a fastest man contest, they could do like a 3-on-3 basketball, just like other competitive things would be a way for the players to at least care a little bit more. But at the same time, they want the viewers. They want the fans to be involved. They want the viewers ratings. I don't think that not everyone's going to be turning on a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. The same as not everyone's going to be turning on dodgeball. It's kind of fun to watch, but it's not like, oh, I can't believe I missed the dodgeball game. No, you don't really care. In the NBA All-Star weekend, like I watch that every year with my boys. We watch the 3-point. It's funny though. It's funny, but it's not. So it's funny because in the years past, the dunk contest is always the last, and it's always at like midnight. So like Milo's usually asleep for the dunk contest. And I worked this year, and I didn't realize until I was at work and got the notification that they had even bumped up the time. So
Mm-hmm.
NBA All Star Weekend always starts at 8 o'clock. Well, it started at 5 o'clock this year, and I'm at
Yeah.
work, so I missed the 3-point. I missed most of the dunk and everything. It was over by like 9 p.m. Which sucked this year. But anyway, that's just something that people look forward to. The players look forward to it. Even players that aren't in the All-Star game go to watch. And they're like downtown. It's a good environment. Like everything about it is awesome for the NBA. It's the complete opposite for the NFL. And I just don't think that there is a right answer or a way to fix it.
Yeah, I was racking my brain when like we had the question is like, what do you do to make it relevant? I don't know that you can. I really don't because like the NFL fastest man, they used to do that, and I would love to see that. Like if you had prime, Gibbs going against JMO going against Tyreek, uh, DK Metcalf in there. I mean, you take the fastest guys in the NFL and you put them in a race. I'd love to see that, but then you would hate to have someone, tear a hamstring or something like that. So,
Right.
you run the risk of that. You mentioned the 3-on-3 basketball. Yeah, would that be fun to watch? But it's not football. You want to watch these guys in a football setting. The, I love, what I picture is like, if you wanted to do skill stuff, like the men's skills competition, you ever see those where you basically have like kind of like Oklahoma drills? I mean, like stuff like that would be
Right.
fun to watch because I love watching that in
They
training
still
camp.
get hurt though.
Yeah, exactly. And so like you're not going to have the effort there. That's one thing that made the games and the NBA games on Sundays so fun to watch is that there was effort. Like they cared about the result, like they wanted to win. Um, and so that
You didn't really watch NBA when you were having All-Star games where it was like everyone scored 200 points and it was East versus
yes,
West. It was like you were watching a pickup game at the gym, with
wasn't
obviously
even
much
like
better level
that.
basketball. But
Yeah. It was like, oh, high flying dunks. I just saw like no defense at all, which like you could say in a regular NBA game, there's not a ton of defense outside of like certain teams, like Pistons being one of them. They definitely play defense. Oklahoma City Thunder, they play defense, but outside that, it's not a lot of defense going on. But I watched the games on Sunday, and there were the players cared, and so what could you do to make the
right,
NFL players care? I don't know if you can. I not to get everybody to care, and it won't be a regular game. You're not going to get offensive linemen in there, putting their body at risk because they're just slamming into each other in a game that doesn't matter. It's like preseason games are even more exciting than the Pro Bowl game to me because people are fighting to make the team. Like there is a reason that we're playing this game. Now the outcome doesn't matter, but at the same time, there there's stuff on the line. Whereas Pro Bowl, it's not, and I just don't want to. I don't even like you said. I don't even want to see it. So and picking the Pro Bowl, picking the Pro Bowl players is so stupid. Like Shadur Sanders making the Pro Bowl, dumb. That's just because, like you said, they don't get paid enough to even waste their time going down there. So everyone said no, and that's how
right.
they got to Shadur Sanders. And Shadur Sanders is like, yeah, I'll go, because just because now he could say he's a Pro Bowl player, so which is
Yeah,
ridiculous.
exactly. He's got the accolade. I don't know if he's got the bonus, but uh, you could like that would be awesome to have like an Oklahoma drill, or to be like, okay, Jared Goff and Amon Ra are gonna go against whatever defensive back. And then, it's basically one-on-ones like you do in training camp, wide receiver
Hmm.
versus defensive back. That would be cool to watch too. But I
Yeah,
mean, the Pro Bowl happens when the season's already over. And some of those players have just played the week before and found out, hey, they're not going to the Super Bowl. So, I mean,
right.
they're like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm completely burnt out.
Yep.
And
Yeah, and
that's,
they're
basketball, they get a week off, and they have this all-star event. And then even, you go to the all-star event or you don't, you still have like 4 days or whatever after all-star weekend is over before the games and stuff happen. Baseball happens in the middle of the summer. They get a break in the middle of it. There's an all-star game, home run derby, everything's right there. you can't do that in the NFL. You can't say everybody gets this week off except for these players are going to be busy, like, this weekend. That would never work.
No.
And I think we're very close to the Pro Bowl just not being a thing. I feel like they're just wasting money and wasting resources for nothing.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see the quarterback skills challenge is the only thing that I really enjoyed watching out of the Pro Bowl, and they didn't even do that this year. So you kind of already mentioned it, but what are your favorite All Star events across the four major sports? So, like, if you had to pick your favorite thing, would it be the slam dunk contest? What would it be?
That's tough because I would say the dunk contest, but the thing about the dunk contest is that you've pretty much, at this point, you've seen pretty much every dunk that you can see. A lot of times they have to bring in props or different things like that, to try to make it more fresh. But for the most part, you've seen these dunks. It's still good. I mean, they're still high flying. It's still really good. But, same as a 3-point contest, like they're just shooting, but it's exciting, especially when you've got somebody in it that you're rooting for. Home run derby, I think, is good too. I mean, I guess I can't really pick a favorite, but those are my top three.
I'd say
What about
that's
you, though?
I think with my boys, the home run derby. I think most of it because we know more of those players than we do basketball because we follow baseball more closely than we do basketball outside of the Pistons. Uh, I like the 3-point contest more than the slam dunk contest because, like you said, that kind of gets stale. And you know, it's hard to come up with some new dunks. It really is. I mean, occasionally you're going to get something like, man, that's insane, or somebody even pulls off a dunk you've seen before, but it's so hard to do, and especially if they do it on the first try. I that's exciting. This year's slam dunk contest, not exciting at all. It was pretty lame. We
Yeah.
were out bowling with my boys, but they had it like on the TV right by where we were bowling, and we watched it there, and there was nothing that we really um, you know, went crazy about. But home run derby, the way they do it now is pretty. I like it. It's pretty. They keep it fast. Like they have that 3-minute clock. It doesn't drag. When they used to do the
I still
outs,
think sometimes it's too long. But
I
yeah,
think
you're right. They're trying to make it better.
it keeps it more in pace. I mean, the thing that would be more exciting is if we had a Tigers player in one of those home run derbies. And we haven't had that in a
Remember
while.
Brandon Inge?
Yeah,
How could you forget?
yeah. I mean, even Cabrera. Cabrera was in it. The one that was at Comerica Park. I don't think. I don't know how far he got.
I actually don't remember that.
Yeah. Uh, that the home run derby at Comerica Park, or you don't remember Cabrera being in it?
I don't remember Cabrera being in it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure because it was the home.
2006 and 2010. So
Okay.
2006 he was in it when he was with the Marlins, and then 2010 was when he was with the
With,
Tigers.
with the Tigers, yeah. So I like that. I don't really follow hockey enough. I know that they used to do a skills thing where they would have targets um on the goal, but I don't really watch anything in the hockey one, so I can't speak to that. Uh, but yeah, football is it's over, man. I cannot find a way to make it relevant other than just having the quarterback competition. That's the only thing that I care about.
Right. And that's just not enough. There's just no good way to save it.
No.
I mean, you would have to just tie it in like because I was thinking about if they made it more about the fans and made the Pro Bowl event more like they did the draft. But I mean, for the Pro Bowl to be when it is, you couldn't really. It'd be harder to do it in like Detroit and places where the weather is going to be bad.
Yeah.
Um, but if you switch because the NFL honors, like they treat the NFL honors like it's the Oscars or whatever, and they've got that in the arena. If you switch that up and had that like outdoors on a stage like they do the draft, I mean that would probably make that more interesting, and you could add that as part of Pro Bowl week and have just more like fan oriented stuff. But I just don't think there's any product with the Pro Bowl that you could put on TV that's going to be a ratings breaker. Like,
No. No, I mean it'll be stuff that if anything cool happens, it'll show up on a YouTube short or something like that. But whether to just sit there and watch it, it's not going to be for most people. It's
yeah,
pretty broken. I mean, I think All Stars in general, as I mean, they were really cool when I was younger because for some of the you didn't have not every game was on TV. You had Sports Center, so you might see some of the highlights. You didn't see all these players, so now you could see all of them together one spot. But now, especially the NFL, you could watch any game that you want, and you get to see all these players. So it's like it's not a big deal to see Patrick Mahomes play. Like, ooh,
Right.
I see him every Sunday, so it's not that huge of a
Yeah.
deal. So
Red zone has ruined it.
yeah, exactly. You could watch all these and you watch the endless amounts of highlights with YouTube and stuff like that. So like this instant access to all this stuff makes it not as exciting to see all these players grouped together. Um, even the All-Star
True.
game like baseball, they tried to make it mean something when the winning league got home field advantage in the World Series. And I didn't like that at all. I didn't like that have a real consequence on that. I mean, I get what they were trying to do, but also I didn't want that tied to an all-star game. Like, I don't know. What'd you think about that?
I mean, I thought it was kind of cool.
You
It
liked
was
it?
cool that it felt like there was more on the line, but I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think it's necessary for there to be more on the line for that kind of a game.
No.
And I think baseball as it is, like, I mean, baseball is baseball. Like they're trying to hit the ball, they're trying to get them out. They're not, the pitchers are not out there throwing 60 mile per hour, just letting them crank home runs. That's
Right.
not what they're doing. They're playing the game.
100%. And that's what I think about baseball is kind of nice about that because like there's a point of pride there, right? That pitcher's against the batter, and they don't want that pitcher doesn't want to be lit up, just like the hitter doesn't want to be struck out by a pitcher. There's the competition, the pride to compete, and that's what I saw at the NBA game. Like people playing defense, like actually playing the game for some pride, and that's why I think baseball's been ahead of these other sports is just because you have like that pitcher versus the batter, and you don't neither one of those players wants to be shown up on national TV, and so there's not as much goofing off in baseball. I feel like, no one's being nonchalant in the field. Like no one wants to be showing up in that. And I think that's some of it's natural to the sport of baseball. So I don't think it's like baseball players are, more competitive than NBA players. I'm not trying to say that. I think just some of it uh, is just natural to that. But also, I think it's like for the NBA, like some of those, if the star players step up and they like Wemby was he was into the game and like was calling out his teammates. Like you need
It
players,
felt like they cared.
right?
It mattered if
Exactly,
they won or lost.
right. Like if Jordan was on, back in the day, if Jordan was on your All Star, you're not going to let him down. Like if he's going to get on you, you're not going to let Jordan down. And it's a matter of like, did the team get too lax? Like should have LeBron got onto people that were just being lazy? A few years ago.
Jason compared Michael Jordan to Wembanyama.
I did. Maybe a competitive spirit. I don't know, but yeah. No, Jordan is the best player in NBA history as far as I'm concerned. Just unbelievable player. As much as I hate to say it, and I think Kobe is right up there. I think Kobe's better than LeBron in my opinion, but that's I don't know. I don't know what you feel
Debate
about
for the
that.
basketball podcast. I don't know.
It
I
is,
mean,
yeah.
it's
I don't
hard
know.
for. So here's the thing: it's hard for me being my age because when I first started watching basketball and when I'm playing basketball on like my plastic Fisher Price hoop all the time, Michael Jordan was the one on TV. Like I'm
Yeah.
5, 6 years old and I've got Michael Jordan gear and stuff like that. Before it was like, okay, yeah, like 100%, I'm all about the Pistons. And then it was like, oh wait, actually, I hate the Bulls. Like, forget this team. And then the history and stuff as it goes on. But that's just hard. And then so LeBron, I think, was drafted in was that 2002, 2000? It was 2003. How did I forget? That was the Darko year. But so pretty much my entire life, LeBron's been like the pinnacle of the NBA. So
Yep.
pros and cons for everybody. I think LeBron gets more hate than MJ or Kobe do, but
Yeah.
it's hard. It's hard for me to say. It's different eras of basketball.
It is. Yeah, I'm not
LeBron
sure.
did it at a higher level for longer than Michael Jordan did, though. And there's a lot of things, a lot of hate that Michael Jordan gets for other things, and like the whole when he quit to play baseball and then he came back
He
and
quit. Okay.
exactly right. I know
I think he was
the
suspended.
inside story. Right.
But
See, there's nothing like that tainting LeBron other than like the flopping and the complaining. But
yeah, he is. I mean, Jordan would do that too. I don't think it's to the extent that LeBron does. Though his whining gets like crazy on my nerves. I don't like that.
Right.
But I don't know. Kobe to me was a player, and so I don't know. I guess I didn't watch enough at that time to compare the both. But Jordan will be number one to me. I grew up and he was unbelievable. He's one of those guys, and if they didn't change the rules, the Pistons would have beat him. But they had to change the rules, put the Jordan
Yeah.
rules in. All right, man. We'll wrap things up here. We'll be back next week. Probably, we might have some roster information. We might know about some cuts. We talk about some possible free agents. And then we're gonna have to start
Combine
getting
is
into
next
the
week.
draft. The combine,
Right.
yes, is going to be there. So I'm sure that's going to be a topic for us to talk about. So for Jacob Litton, I'm Jason Harwood. Let's go Lions.